Good morning, everybody. We are live here from the birdhouse. It is somehow the end of August already, and that means there is more movement of birds coming through the area as we get closer into the fall. So today we'll not only share your photos, but give you an update about some of the things that you can expect to see coming through the upstate New York area shortly. As always, we love to know who's on. You can say hello in the comments or put whatever kind of birds or sightings of other things as well that you have seen in those comments. And if you have questions, you can throw those in there too. But we'll get started here. Hummingbirds, just like we've been reporting the last couple of weeks, people are getting lots of hummingbirds, which makes sense. They are either migrating through from up north, passing through this area, or the ones that have been here are getting ready to start that migration. So they are drinking a lot of nectar, which gives them the calories that they need in order to make that migration. So don't be surprised if you see an increase in hummingbird activity, because not only do the ones that we had here all year long need to fuel up for that migration, but keep in mind they do go further north on their migration in the spring. So those birds are coming back down and flowing through the area as well. So don't be surprised if you see more and more hummingbirds still, and we'll have them here still through. Usually they really start to gear up to go back down south around Labor Day, so we're kind of in the last real big week of having a lot of hummingbirds. But that being said, people will see them here through the month of September, so still have more hummingbird time. Same with orioles, but they're kind of fizzling, but some people are getting them every day, eating a whole bunch of jelly in their backyard still. So again, they are still seen here through the month of September here and there, but they're really on their way back down south. Unfortunately, it is that time of the year. And that being said, you never know what kind of thing you might see pass through. And these photos were just sent in from Mark J., who saw this bird at Ellison Park. He says, rare bird, visitor to New York State, a swallow-tailed kite. I've seen them in Florida, but not here in New York. So just goes to show you never know what kind of things you might see when you're out there this time of the year. Just like in the spring, we get some kind of rare and different things passing through, and this photo was just sent in from Mark, who saw this at Ellison Park. Really cool photo. And then he also sent in this photo. He says, real fortunate to spot the elusive least bittern at Montezuma after a month of looking and a few trips around the refuge. They are so small, so he was able to catch a glimpse of this least bittern that's out at Montezuma. So some really cool photos there of the least bittern. And then also this photo he sent in of some hummingbird activity. He said, having fun photographing this hummingbird all week. Has been coming to the feeder a good dozen times a day. So getting lots of hummingbird activity, it looks like there. And this is, these are a few photos here that were sent in by Mark, who's getting some nice hummingbird activity at his feeders, which is really exciting. So keep your eyes out for those hummingbirds, not only at your feeders, but coming to any kind of tubular plants you might have in your yard. And then not a bird, but something totally different. Karen sent in my yard. I've never seen one before. Not a fan of spiders, but this one was fascinating to watch. And so these spiders can get pretty big, and then their webs, it almost looks like a little zigzag, like a little zipper going kind of straight down. So that must be how they get their name. But really cool photo there sent in by Karen. Looks like a nice big spider. I've seen a few big spiders in my yard too. I've been weeding in the garden. They kind of take you by surprise. Here's some photos sent in by Martha of a couple of pileated woodpeckers at their feeders. Looks like at their paddle tail feeders. She says pileated at her suet feeders. We really like the canal ride. They were also on one of our canal trips. But they sent in these photos here of a couple of pileated woodpeckers. We've had a pileated woodpecker at our feeder here behind the store, which has been pretty cool. And yesterday, I saw personally a couple of osprey flying around the river, which was pretty exciting. There's been one hanging around, even if you were lucky enough to be on that the one boat trip that we were on of the Genesee River, we did see an osprey that was giving us a pretty good show. And yesterday, it looks like that, if it's still that osprey that's been there, it was being joined by another bird and probably following the river as they make their migration. But they were calling, and it was really, really neat. So some osprey are still in the area. So if you are by water, especially, keep an eye out for them because they eat lots of fish. Same with the double-crested cormorants. I've seen a lot of those passing through as well. And we'll have those here in the wintertime also. So they're not totally, some of them will go south and stay out of the area. Others will hunker down and stay here throughout the winter months. Lots of great egret are out and about as well if you're by any kind of body of water. I've seen a bunch around the Genesee River. So lots of great egret as they're making their migration down south. So they will be out of here in a few weeks. But great blue heron, they are still around, and every once in a while you hear of those here in the wintertime, but they're really making their way back down south also. So you might see by any kind of body of water a mix of great egret and great blue heron. And keep an eye out for green heron too, because they are also around, quite a bit smaller than the great blue heron and the great egret. Belted kingfisher, we've seen lots of belted kingfisher around with their chattering. Again, any kind of water, you might find belted kingfisher around rivers, around streams, around ponds. They eat a lot of fish, and they have a little chattery call. You can usually hear their call when they're in flight. They do that. Common nighthawk will be flying through. They are really a nocturnal bird, but you can see them during migration time. They will fly during the day, sometimes in groups. So if you see something that looks like a bird of prey almost with long, thin wings, and it has white stripes on the bottom of it, that's going to be your common nighthawk. So keep your eye to the sky for them migrating through, because it's about that time. We've even gotten reports of snow goose passing through. So if you see some geese in formation that aren't Canada geese, take a better look, because they might be snow geese. So they are also passing through and will continue to as we get on in migration season, along with some of these. So as we get into September, we start to see some different ducks coming through. We've been showing you some that you're likely to start seeing in August, but here's some that you're likely to start seeing in September while we get closer to the big waterfowl migration. Here's one called a redhead. It has, like its name suggests, a red head. It also has a bluish, grayish kind of bill with a black tip. There's the ring-necked duck, and that looks a lot like these birds that are also going to be passing through, the greater and lesser scaup, which can be hard to identify one from the other. The greater has a larger rounded head, that's on the left here, whereas the lesser scaup has a thinner, longer head, but that can be kind of hard to differentiate unless you see the two of them side by side, which is pretty common. They do tend to hang out side by side with each other. Red-breasted merganser, we'll start to see more of them flowing in as we get more into migration season. White-winged scoter, which will stay here all winter long, same as the red-breasted merganser. You can find them here all winter long, and they'll start to make their way back to this area over the next month or so. And then as far as songbirds go, keep an eye out for blue-headed vireo. They will be passing through. They don't stay here for the winter, but they will pass through back down south on their migration route, same as Philadelphia vireo. So a couple of different birds that won't stay here all winter long, but as they're making their trek back down south, you can see them here in the upstate New York, western New York area. And ruby-crowned kinglet, we'll start to hear more reports of them. They will stay all winter long. You don't always see that ruby crown on the top of their head. It's really only if they flare it out that you see them, so they can look very, very just small and plain. They can be hard to get your to kind of focus on, because they do jump around quite a bit in the trees and in the shrubs that you can find them in. But we'll start to hear reports of them coming back to the area as well. And usually it's around this time that I start to see them in my yard too. So they, as they're passing through, you never know what you might see in your backyard. I'd keep an eye out for ruby-crowned kinglet, because they usually come in some pretty big groups. And then also brown creeper. So brown creeper we'll start to hear more reports of as well. Like their name suggests, they do creep along on trees. If you think of nuthatches that are known to do that, they creep down the trees. The brown creeper creep up the tree, and they can blend in really, really well with that bark. So they have really, really good camouflage. They're quite small. They have that white breast, and they have what's called a decurved bill. If you look at its bill, it does curve a little bit. And so that is the brown creeper. And then white-throated sparrow. This is one that you can find under your feeders especially. They will join mixed flocks of other birds. You can sometimes find them with flocks of cardinals and juncos, but you can find them by themselves also. They have that white patch on their throat, and we'll start to hear more reports of them migrating through as well. And also dark-eyed junco. So dark-eyed junco, although we do have some that are here year-round, especially in certain patches, there are some that will stay year-round, but really it's more of a winter bird for us here, and they are going to start coming back as well. We'll start hearing more reports of them in people's yards over the next month or so, so keep an eye out for them as well. They're a sign of the impending season. So that's everything I have prepared for you guys today. If you have any comments or questions, throw those in the comments. As far as things going on at the birdhouse, we have our annual photography contest going on right now, and you can submit your photos now for that. We're accepting 8x10 photos. We've got all the information about that on our website, which is thebirdhouseny.com. Go to our events section of the page to learn all about the photography contest. We also have a plant sale going on this Saturday. So Michael Hainan will be here with his rare and unusual plants, and he'll set up on Saturday morning, and we'll have him here through the early afternoon. So we do have something going on for this Labor Day weekend. So let's see, it looks like Lynn is on with a comment, and she says, I took my jelly down because of the sparrows a while ago. I'm thinking I might put it back up for their return flight. What do you think? Thanks. It can't hurt. I mean, if you still have some left over too, you might as well. I kind of find it towards this time of the year, if I still have some left, I might as well use it up. So I would put some out, and why not? If you don't see any within the week or so, you might just want to take it down, but it can't hurt. I definitely had a lot of sparrows coming to my jelly also this year for some reason. So that can get a little frustrating, but yeah, I would put it back up. And if you don't see any orioles within a week or so, you might just want to take it down for the season. So it looks like that's everybody's comments and questions for the day. We'll be back soon with another broadcast. And until then, have a great week. And hopefully we will see and talk to you soon. Enjoy your birds.